Hello everybody, I've got one more video to do this week before we get onto some streaming later on today, and this video is to take a look at Paper Mario, the Origami King, ahead of reviews going live for the game next week. I've played through about the first hour or so far for this preview, and what I can say from my first impressions is that I really like this game and where it's heading. The Paper Mario series has been a bit patchy over the years, with some being incredibly good. I personally list the first Paper Mario back on the N64 as my favourite Mario game of all time, but others have not been so good, and I do think that Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U, in particular, was an especially disheartening one for a lot of fans. Really hurt their faith in the series. So with this being the first Paper Mario since that 2016 release, Nintendo really needed this one to deliver, and so far it really genuinely has. The series' trademark sense of humour is automatically Origami King's most appealing feature. It comes across as very deadpan a lot of the time, with a lot of droll quips rolling off in the conversations. The art style is used in such a way that it also comes across as a very dry sense of humour a lot of the time, in finding something funny out of fairly mundane or fairly simple things. I must admit that I do like my humour on the deadpan side of things when the mundane is arranged in a funny manner, and the game does have me chuckling along with its kind of droll humour a lot of the time, and quite frequently I'm laughing a lot while I play this game. There are also some overtly funny bits too, such as a disco dance scene with a bunch of trees, and you would have seen that played at the start of the video. And in total, Paper Mario has some really good energy and flow to it so far. The game does seem to be benefiting from having smaller areas to explore, or at least so far. The environment transitions to the next after just a couple of short puzzles and combat scenes, and that does help prevent the game from ever feeling like it's becoming a grind. Given that there doesn't seem to be a leveling system this time around, it would have made no sense for players to fight the same enemies over and over again. So I'm really enjoying the pacing of things too. They seem to hit things just right, where you get to enjoy the charms of each individual enemy type without fighting them so often that it feels like you should be rewarded with a bit more than just gold, that you kind of want those experience levels. The game never feels like it's missing that, at least at this stage, because it just moves things along at a nice rate. While there is no leveling, there is a progression system which is tied in with the money that you earn. You accumulate a lot of this, and that money is used for a lot of things, from standard purchases to getting toads to come and cheer for you in battle to give you boosts in combat. While the game does feel a little bit eager to shower you with cash, making it a resource that isn't particularly enjoyable to accumulate, and we've seen that happen with Mario games in the past. There was a Mario platformer where money just flew out from everywhere, and it just became an overload of cash, which makes it feel less like a treasure then as a result. While that is a little bit of an issue with this game, I do suspect that making good use of this resource will become a bigger feature down the track as the difficulty of it escalates a little bit further. The puzzles are pitched at a nice and accessible level, meaning that although you don't feel like the game is solving the puzzle for you, as happens with games that try and be a little bit too easy on the puzzling, they're also not so challenging that you find yourself running around in circles over and over again, getting frustrated to the point where you wish that you had a guide. That has happened to me in more than a few games in the past. I'm not a big fan of puzzle games in my adventure games. If I want to play a puzzle game, I'll sit down with a Picross or Sudoku, but when their game does have puzzles in there, I like them to be pitched at about this point. I like to feel like I'm the one coming up with the solution, and the game is not just handing it to me, but at the same time I want to be able to make progress. I don't want to get stuck on a puzzle for too long. Again, this is just impressions on the first hour of play though, and things may well change as I get further into it. Who knows, maybe the puzzle difficulty gets to the point where it is unmanageable and I wish that I did have a guide to draw on. Or, who knows, perhaps the puzzles go the other way and become so simple that I'm flying through them to the point where I don't really think of them as puzzles. Either way would be a detriment to the game. But for now, I do think that it is balanced nicely so that people of every age can really enjoy what this game offers. And it's important to remember that, of course, this is a Paper Mario game. It is designed for just about everybody to play. That older people can enjoy it for its charms, its sense of humour, its quirkiness, and so on. But younger players can also get through it, so that means that they can't pitch the combat and the puzzles too difficult to the point that the kid doesn't want to play the game anymore. You need to find that middle ground, and so far it has. The combat system is different and intriguingly different, but I am still waiting to see if it actually adds something genuinely new to the formula, or it's just a time-wasting gimmick. The jury's still a little bit out on that at this stage. Basically, Mario is positioned in the middle of a circular board, and the enemies are arrayed around the board. Before combat starts, Mario can spin a certain number of those discs to reposition the enemies on the board, and if he can form nice neat rows or 2x2 boxes of those enemies, Mario will then get a boost to his attacks once the combat actually begins, and he'll be able to clear the board of the enemies pretty quickly. If you don't manage to make those nice neat rows, you will probably get counterattacked and Mario will take damage. If you do make those rows, then you'll almost certainly get through that combat without the enemy getting a chance to counterattack. So it works as a little puzzle to solve before each battle. It works as a little puzzle to solve before each battle, and if you do solve that puzzle, then it becomes a puzzle rather than a combat thing. And right towards the end of my time with the game so far, so towards the end of that hour of play, the enemies were starting to be arranged in patterns that made me actually think about that rearranging process, and the puzzle became quite interesting. I even actually messed it up once, so I did get the enemies to counterattack me. So I do have a feeling that deeper into the game, I will really start to enjoy this combat system and the challenges that it can put up as Nintendo gives me more and more complex patterns of enemies to deal with. It is another reason that it's for the best that individual environments are fairly small though, because when you think about it, this pre-battle arrangement and pattern process does mean that each battle in Origami King rolls on for a long time. With standard JRPGs, standard enemy battles are over very quickly in a matter of seconds, but in this one, every single battle takes up some significant time to work through. So if the environments were too extended and there were too many battles within those environments, it would feel like you were never making any progress, which is thankfully not the case so far. So finally, I wanted to mention the aesthetics. Origami King is absolutely gorgeous. It's not just that it uses those 2D sprites and now, 2D origami folded sprites in a 3D world. That's not the only reason that it's so appealing. It's also that this game has this most wonderful eye for detail that allows it to be so bright, so over vibrant, so full of energy, that it has that Nintendo difference with its standard of quality. I actually played a Paper Mario clone not too long ago, which was called Bug Fables, and it is a really enjoyable game in its own right. I have a review up on digitallydownloaded.net for that one. But the difference between playing it and then playing something like Origami King is actually very subtle, but it is so significant. Everything about Origami King so far is this sensory overload of colour and joy, and this is one very, very happy game, and it is entirely that eye for detail, that extra 10%, that gets it to that point. Now, I don't really have any thoughts on the broader narrative as yet, though the philosophically nihilistic Origami Princess Peach is something I never knew I wanted, but I'm very much here for now, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her and what she can say and come up with. I have no sense on how long this game is going to be at this point in time, whether the lack of an experience system will become a drain for the game because it otherwise behaves as a JRPG, and I guess I'm concerned that I'll come up to a point where I feel like all the time and energy that I'm putting into this thing isn't giving me that progression loop back that you kind of expect from JRPGs. I'm hoping it will. The jury's still out at this point in time. I do also have plenty of questions about whether that initial creativity behind the puzzle-like combat system is sustainable. But what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that Origami King is very much the answer to Color Splash that we needed to restore faith in Paper Mario again. I do think that people will get their hands on this one and find a new level of love for Paper Mario because it has it has resolved the concerns that people had about the direction of this series, I think. I hope, anyway. I really do hope that people enjoy this one, because I am. So thanks as always for watching. If you enjoy my videos, drop a like and press that subscribe button. You'll also want to press the bell button so you get notifications whenever I stick a new video up. That way you don't miss anything. Please do consider backing me on Patreon, because even $1 a month will actually help me invest in this channel. And that's what I really want to do with it. That's the point of having the Patreon. I want to grow the channel. I want to do more things with it. I need the resources to be able to do so. If you want to support DDNet by buying something instead of just donating to a Patreon, we do have visual novels available. Our mascot, Dee and her friends get up to all kinds of fan servicey fun in those. So you'll get a game to play in addition to providing the support to DDNet by buying those. I have links to all of that stuff in the description below the video. Have a great Have a great weekend, everyone. I stumbled right at the end there. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we will hope to see you on the streams later on today.